If you're wanting a more detailed look into anything I ramble about here today, or any day really, go check out my zine. I have astro weather issues that come out every Sunday and new and full moon issues that drop a few days before the new and full moon. My third house stellium keeps me very busy with writing, and I would love for you to read it. Speaking of full moons, we have one right here, right now, so let's get into this week's forecast. If you're listening in real time or close to real time, then you'll be experiencing the feisty and fierce full moon in Leo. This full moon not only kicks off the week, but the entire month of February. A full moon in fixed fire is one that centers around expression of self, identity, and even creative fuel. If you've taken classes with me where we focus on the zodiac signs, then you'll know that I teach Leo through the lens of a fireplace. Leo is the hearth, the fireplace. Leo doesn't ask to be the center of attention. It just often is the central hub where everyone gathers. Leo being fixed fire means that people gather around it because they want to feel that warmth for themselves and harness it a little bit. They want to harness that creative spark, that warmth that Leo naturally holds. So it's not that Leo itself is arrogant or self-centered by nature. It's that Leo is the place we tend to get a lot of attention, crave attention, or burn really bright. So attention finds us nonetheless in the realm of Leo. Wherever this full moon is taking place for you will be a place where you're hyper-aware of what's going on, and you may be getting a little more attention there than you bargained for. Having this flashy lunar event take place when so much is in Aquarius, which is not a flashy sign, means that there's going to be some opposing energy. The full moon is highlighting a dichotomy between our creative self-expression and the broader, more logical application or reception of that expression. An example of this dichotomy is my journey with blue sky. The full moon is in my 11th house of broader connections, social spaces, and communities. And the opposing energy is coming from my 5th house of creativity. Some days I'm enjoying it and seeing the more practical use, and other days I'm like, this is a dumpster fire that needs extinguished immediately. I will say that Neptune in Aries isn't helping the online climate at the moment. People feel really hostile and aggressive in a way that I don't remember it being like before. It's been a couple years since I've been on social media, but I don't remember it being this bad. So if you're chronically online, just know that it's a really weird time for the internet right now with all the generational planets, with how they're configured. Mars passing over Pluto doesn't help with that, hasn't helped with that either. But still, there are too many keyboard cowboys out there for my liking. Anyway, that's what the full moon has me fixated on. But in general, for all of us, it's highlighting an area that we need to understand whether or not the attention we're receiving is attention we actually want. If it's not, then we need to tap into the pragmatism that Aquarius is pushing back with and change the fuel the fire is running off of. A Leo full moon is very much about fixating on something you're passionate about, fixed fire. But it's also about making sure your ego, pride, and identity stay intact. Not acting out of ego, but preserving a healthy, egoic expression through logical displays of creativity and connections with others. That's what this full moon is about. That's a heavy homework assignment to start the week, but at least we know what we're working with. The rest of the week doesn't inspire as much confidence or flashiness as the full moon. We have some aspects with Chiron to contend with, as well as some more movement from one of the generational planets and a planetary ingression. The aspects with Chiron are 2 sextiles, one with Mercury and one with Venus, both in Aquarius. They're happening in the earlier parts of the week, so expect those old wounds to be messed with again. Remember a few weeks ago when everything was in Capricorn and all the planets squared Chiron and I called it Chiron's physical therapy? Well, now we're having that again, but it's a harmonic aspect, not a hard one, and it's coming from Aquarius. The sextiles with Chiron are going to take what we learned from that physical therapy a few weeks ago and show us why it was important and how it helped with our healing of the chronic chironic wound. Chronic chironic. Say that a couple times fast and see how it goes. Neptune is nowhere near Chiron at the moment. They are at completely different ends of the Aries spectrum, but even them sharing the same space gives me the ick a little bit. Don't question your healing this week. If something comes up around the wounds of Chiron and you're feeling pretty okay about it, don't psych yourself out and create a bunch of false narratives around it. Accept that the work you've put in is giving results. Communication and connection will be the main threads of healing for Chiron this week. Being that Mercury and Venus are making the sextiles, look for ways to create new avenues of connection within the realm of Aries and keep communication strong, logical, and to the point. That won't leave any room for interpretation or squishy emotions to get in the way. Neptune and Pluto have been getting a lot of airtime lately, but this week it's all about Uranus. Uranus stationed retrograde in Gemini back in September of 2025, which then caused it to dip back into Taurus, where it currently resides. This is the last retrograde cycle where Uranus dips back into Taurus. Now that it's stationing direct, it'll resume forward planetary movement, and it's going to march its way to Gemini, where it will be fully seated by April. That'll start a whole new Uranus cycle, which we'll talk about once it gets closer to time. To start one cycle, you have to close another, and that's what's happening starting this week within the realm of Taurus. Uranus has been disrupting Taurus since around 2019, so just like with Neptune, we're closing out another long cycle within our lives. A long-standing thread of fate is being woven in, and we're adding in another stitch to the new strand. We have until April to fully wrap up Taurus, and that'll start this week as it moves forward again. All these generational planetary shifts, and then Saturn leaving Pisces in a few weeks, it really does have a feeling like we're in a whole other timeline. It's making me almost simultaneously nostalgic for a life that didn't exist, but also mourning a life that very much did. I don't know, it feels weird, but that's generational planets for you. The last big thing on the docket this week is Mercury leaving Aquarius and ingressing into Pisces. This happens on Friday, so we have most of the week before Mercury ingresses into its place of detrimental dignity. I say this all the time, but detrimental dignity is not a death sentence or even necessarily a bad thing, because what is bad? Bad is relative. This will be the first time that Mercury gets to transit Pisces without the influence of Neptune there since 2012. That's going to happen for all the planets that pass through Pisces in the coming months, but Mercury's the first to do it, other than Saturn, who has already been there. Mercury ingressing into Pisces means that we're leaving the hard logic behind and heading for daydreams, creative outlets, and even maybe some ungrounded logic. The mental landscape is going to become more intuitive and loose, squishy, if you will. I love the word squishy for Pisces. It's loose, it's squishy. This is mutable water, so we're not bound by rigid standards, and we want to keep mentally flexible. Mercury transiting Pisces without Neptune's influence means that daydreams aren't going to be just about escapism or victim mentalities anymore. It's actually going to feel a little more pure, which is another word that I kind of love for Pisces. Pure, vast, squishy, all reminiscent of the ocean or large bodies of water. Mercury's detrimental status means that logic becomes a little squishy. Thinking, logic, and the mental landscape has to pass through the lens of emotion, intuition, and magic. Instead of knowing something in your head, you have to know it in your heart, which I think is a great full circle moment for this week, since it starts off with a full moon in Leo, which is totally a heart-centered sign, and Leo also rules the heart, as well as the upper back and spine, but it's mostly known for the heart. This week is giving heart-centered action and thought. Don't let others dissuade you from ideas and sentiments that you know are right for you, that you know make you shine. With Mars still in Aquarius, we'll need to implement the ideas through logical means. But the ideas and intentions behind what you're doing or trying to achieve need to come from an inner creative space, a wellspring of warmth, and you need to stand firmly behind those ideas and beliefs if you truly feel strongly about them. Remember, it's not just about showboating and getting attention and me. It's about intentional curation of your more authentic self. This will start out as a logical endeavor, but by the end of the week, Mercury will change its mode of action and we'll have a little more wiggle room mentally. Enjoy what the full moon illuminates and try to see it as objectively as possible. That Aquarian objectivity will allow you to see what's working and what's not working within the realm of Leo. It's not always easy to look at ourselves in the mirror and point out a flaw or something that we could be doing better, but it'll be worth it when our fires burn brighter and cleaner. Thank you for tuning into this week's forecast. If you want a more detailed look at what this week's astro weather holds for you personally, go to my website, moonmattersastrology.com, to sign up to receive my zine. You can also find me on Patreon by searching for Moon Matters. The best way to keep up to date with my work or to book a reading with me is to sign up for my mailing list on my website. I'll meet you back here next week, but until next time, later days.